Hello everyone, I'm going to be sharing with you a tutorial on how to do the new jogger pattern. I'm doing the color blocked version with Pocket just so I can show you every piece of how to do it. This will cover every version because doing the Pocket is just an additional step to just doing the color block, and doing the color block is just an additional couple steps to doing the normal joggers. So we're going to jump over to my serger. I just wanted to show you that I cut all of my front pieces with them right sides up on my projector. You really need to make sure you're paying attention to the pieces when they say to cut opposites or to cut the front and back. So this one, I just put all my pieces face up. Sometimes I make sure that they are in a certain position to where I can see certain pieces. Sometimes I don't. And then I fold the fabric on top of it so that I can get the other side, because this is going to be a direct mirror of this side whenever they are sewn together. So like this seam will match up with this seam, and this seam will match up with this seam. So just direct match. I do have the zipper sizes that you need in the tutorial in a chart, and it is just a guideline of, so like the newborn to 2T says a 7-inch zipper. You can grab one larger than that. It's not a big deal. We're going to be cutting them down if it's too big. But there's one version, I think it was the 6-year or the 5T. I have it written down. Yeah, the 6-year, I think, has it to where it's like right at the edge. So like it is the minimum that it could be. So some of them will have to cut down, sometimes you won't. And whenever it says that you need a 7-inch zipper for a newborn, you're not going to use all 7 inches. We will be cutting it down. As you can see, this one's going to be cut down here and here, depending on how I line it up. But so I've got that put together, and make sure that you're paying attention to how many pieces you need, because the normal color block without the zipper is still needed for the zipper pocket option, because it's going to be our lining. And it could be, of course, whatever fabric you are wanting to use for it, doesn't matter. And with this being color blocked, I could have used different fabrics, but I had a report with all of these fabrics and I want to make sure I got to use them. I've got my legs here, I just have them folded over to save some space on my table, and I've got my waist there to save some space on my table as well. So, I'm going to do a couple things off camera. First of all, this zipper, I'm going to be using double-sided tape. You do not have to do that, but it does make it a lot easier. And we will be starting on a basic sewing machine for the zipper. You do not want to put your zipper in any way through your serger. So we'll be starting on the sewing machine for that, and I will walk you through step by step on how to use that zipper. All right, I'm going to pause this so that I can get set up. Okay, so I'm almost done getting set up. So I just prepped my zipper with the double-sided tape, and I already took it off the right side. So this is pocket piece 2. This is the right side, and I'm just going to be flipping it over on top of this. I have my clips right here. I'm just going to go ahead and clip it so that it's already clipped. And for people that are not going to be using the tape, you'll need clips or pins. So this will be helpful. Okay, so now I'm going to be sewing my zipper on. As you can see, I have a zipper foot attached, and I am lined up as close as I can to the teeth with my needle. I'm not going to be right up on it. I'm just trying to get as close as I comfortably can. This will keep me, this little spot right here will keep me from hitting my teeth because it won't let me go over far enough. So I'm just using a straight stitch. You can use a double. I'm going to use a double, especially since I use the tape. It's going to be a lot sturdier so that I don't have to worry about the fabric stretching, because that's another thing. You do not want it to stretch on this zipper. So using the tape will definitely help with that. I believe some people use interfacing, and they'll just put it right here on this part of the fabric and iron it on, and then that will help with that. So one of my friends told me to use the double-sided tape, and so that's what I'm going to be using. So I do have it set to, a double stitch, and I'm just going to get started. I am starting right before my fabric so that I can make sure that it is, sorry, my camera's shaking again, so I can make sure that it's on it. I start out slow just to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. If you keep your finger right here at the end of this, you're not going to end up getting it up here. Keep your finger right here at the end of this, and then you'll be able to feel the teeth under your finger to make sure it's not getting like too far this way or out of the way. make sure you move any clips or pins off before you sew. Okay, and then I just went a little bit further than my zipper. I'm gonna take it off, sorry. I'm using a little stand that clips to my desk and I keep hitting it. I'm just gonna clip off my threads and show you that it is nice and sewn on. So it is optional. But you can go through and top stitch this down. I'm just going to leave it. I've left it on the other versions I've done as well, and it's fine. But if you want it to be a little bit neater, you can go through and do the exact same thing we just did. Get up towards the teeth, leave some room, top stitch down. So now I'm going to grab the other pocket piece and just stick it on the other side and repeat. So I'm going to pause the video until I get done with that. Back over here to show you that I took my pocket and I laid it on top of my lining. And then I took my leg piece, matched it up, and I'm going to lay it on top, right sides together, and then I will show you back on the sewing machine. Okay, so I just showed you that I laid my pocket down, my pocket and lining, and my leg. So I'm going to go ahead, I clipped so I can make sure that I'm at a good distance after moving from my table. You don't have to clip, but. So now I'm just going to come up about an inch from my zipper. Maybe about half an inch. And I'm going to be sewing from all the way over here to about the same distance on the other side of the zipper. I'm only going this far out past it because I am going to be using my serger for the rest of the connection, and I want to make sure that I'm not going to have any parts of the zipper needing to go into my serger. So again, I am going to triple stitch, and I'll probably just back up whenever I get to the teeth and go over it again. So, ooh, I almost lost my thread. Who can relate to that? I'm a little too close to the edge, so I'm moving a little bit. So with this many layers and this zipper foot does press down, I'm just guiding it through some. I'm trying to make sure I'm not pulling from this end, that I'm just pushing in this end and then just guiding. So, okay, so I'm at the zipper. I'm just going to slow down a little bit. Okay, went past it, so now I'm going to go back over it. Good enough and far enough away. Make sure that I got it on the back, and I did. So everything is cast over. I'm just going to cut off my threads. So now, while I'm on my sewing machine, I am going to go ahead and do the other end with the waist piece. My instructions do show you just how to finish going on with this, because I'm going to show you one side completed before I move on to the next side. But I am going to go ahead and finish doing my sewing machine with the other side with the waist, because I don't want to have to move my machine again, because I do have 3 machines in this general area, and I just move them to where I need to be so that I don't have to keep moving myself. So I will be right back. And as you can see, we have a different machine in front of us. So I'm just going to be going over the areas that we did not do from zipper to end. I'm just going to show you on this leg. So this is just my short little piece between the right leg and my zipper. I'm going to lift up my foot, make sure my teeth are up. I'm just going to go ahead and rotate and bring them up more. Oh, you can't see that. There we go. It's a little fuzzy on the teeth, but make sure my teeth are up. Then I'm just going to pull this under here, shimmy it because it's a couple layers, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm starting on top of the seam that I did on my sewing machine, and that my fabric is not so far over in this area that it's going to bunch up. So it looks good. I'm going to close it, I'm just going to serge to the end. Oh, with the wrong foot. Sorry, as you can see, that's my sewing machine. So I have 3 little feet pedals. Sorry. Alright, snip that. Since this is going to be sewn over, I'm not going to worry about tying that. And then I just make sure that I got all of my layers before I move on. And I did. So it is sewn together. I'm going to do the other side all the way down to the end of the zipper, and then I'll show you on my table what it looks like. Real quick, I forgot. This end by the zipper is not going to be sewn over, so I am going to tie this one, and then I'll tuck it in later. I usually just do it later. I might do it in a minute, but sew it, or tie it, and then tuck it in. Hold on. Okay, so real quick, I'm getting close to this end of the leg, and I want to show you that it does overlap, and that is okay, or it comes off the edge, and that is okay. This is going to be the area where we sew the other leg on, and you don't want this to match up end to end. Otherwise, whenever you fold it over, you're not going to have anything to catch on to. So just letting you know. Back at my board, we have sewn on this top part. If it's a little wavy, I don't really worry about it too much. I don't really pull, but if it turns out wavy in the end, I'll just iron it down. It's not a big deal. So we've got our zipper. And now we are going to be in the instructions. Oh, if you notice, I did cut off the ends of my zippers. Just cut off a little bit with my scissors I don't care about. Just in case they break my scissors. You do not want to use your nice scissors cutting a zipper. So I cut those off, and now it returns to the color block section of the instructions and tells us how to put the leg on, and then it'll inform us on how to do the back, or it'll say to repeat steps blank through blank to do the back. So I will be right back. Okay, so I just went to double check my instructions to make sure that that was what I said the next step is, and it is. So it was to return back to step, the step 11 right now. That may change, but it's to return back to the color block steps. If you're following the instructions along with this video, you will see what step to head back to. And it just says to take leg 1 and put it where leg 2 and the waist middle attach to each other. And we're going to be sewing it on there. So I don't know if you noticed at the beginning, but I leave all my pieces as I cut them out, so that I know exactly where they go and exactly which direction they go in, especially if you're not using directional fabric. Depending on how many pieces there are, how small they are, and how similar they are, they might be hard to figure out where they go if you don't do that. So I'm going to serge this on, and then we are going to follow the color block instructions to go through step by step on how to put the normal color block pants together, because it is a little bit of a faster version than this. So I'll be right back with that leg serged on. All right, so here is the color block middle. I'm going to put them right sides together, color block middle and color block waist back. I'm gonna put them right sides together, and I'm going to serge that on. That's it. Okay, so this is serged. Now I'm taking my leg piece 2, and I'm going to put them right sides together, and sew on. It is going to come a little bit further on this side, and there's going to be a tail over here, but I don't know if you noticed on the other one, whenever I flipped it in, there's not nearly as much of a tail. It comes in a little bit, but if this lined up, whenever we flip it over, it'd be like that. So we don't want it to line up. We want there to be a little bit hanging over. Okay, I'm going to serge this on, and I'll check back in. All right, I'm back, and you can see that these line up perfectly. It does have a little bit of a tail, and that's fine because they line up perfect. So I've got my, I know this is, it's the back. So I've got my right leg on, and I'm going to put on my left leg. Left leg, we just line up, right sides together, whoops, right sides together, and serge on. Again, you will have a little bit of tail on both sides, and that is fine. It'll all line up. And if for some reason you have a little bit longer of a tail, whenever we put the pants together, it'll come off, or you can cut off any excess. But you shouldn't. It should line up great. So I'm going to sew this on. I'll be right back. All right, so not exactly a perfect fit, but if you see this little wrinkle right here, I think I pulled the leg a tiny bit, or I was holding it whenever it was going through the serger. So I do have a tiny piece right there. You can see the wrinkle a little bit more on this side. The wrinkle right there. So it's still fine. that tiny little piece is not going to do anything to me. If you're using a sewing machine, snip it off. If you are using your serger, you can just serge right over it. Not a big deal. So I've got my back and I've got my front, and they should be mirrors of each other. I have to figure out how to take a picture of this. All right, these two together on this board, too big. But they should be mirrors of each other so that these seams line up and so that these seams line up as well. So I'm going to take some photos real quick, figure out how to lay these right, and then I will come back to you. Okay, I think this is as good as I'm going to be able to get it for the picture, showing the opposites so that they're mirrored. All right, so now we just continue with the color block instructions. Well, no, sorry, we don't continue with the color block instructions. We are done with the color block instructions, and at the very end of the color block instructions, it says to return to step 1 to finish the joggers, which just brings us right back around to the basic jogger version to learn how to do that part. So I'll be right back. All right, so I just placed right sides together, and if you can tell, all of my seams should match up, match, match, match. So they all stop in the same spots. So now I'm going to go and sew the sides and the inseam together. And then I'm just going to make sure that these seams all match. If it's going to require you to do much pulling, I would not worry about it. But if it's just going to be a slight pull, it'll be fine. So I'm going to get those sewn. All right, so I'm sewn together. As you can see, I am a little lumpy. I can iron, it's not a big deal. So the next steps are to put the waistband still on a fold and the leg bands that are still on a fold. I just cut them at the same time. So leaving them on a fold, you are going to sew them together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and come back and we'll do the next step. Okay, so I have them all sewn, and I'm just going to turn them right side out and fold them so that the seams are on the inside. And now I have my cuff with my folded edges and my raw edges. So trying to figure out how to take a picture of this for the tutorial. And then I think I'll just do that. Maybe, we'll see. And then get the other two done. All right, I'm back. Hopefully this picture makes it to where you understand, or to where the readers understand. So now the next step is to pin or clip, I have my clips, pin or clip the seams together, and then find the middle of the opposite side of each pin and clip. So I'm just going to see if I can do this without putting my camera down. Okay, I'll just pin right next to it for now. So we're going to pin that, and then we're going to find the middle across and pin that as well. So I'm going to get these pinned, show you what it looks like in just a second. Okay, so I'm pinned and clipped, pinned to the seam and pinned directly in the middle behind the seam, and all I did was hold it like this, follow to the other end and clip. So they're all clipped, and now the next step is going to be to bring the pants back over here, and we're going to connect the legs and the waist to the pants. So let me grab them. Okay, so if you can hear my child crying in the background, it's because she just noticed that I'm still home. I'm just in my craft room. She is fine. I totally promise she's fine. I spend every day with her. So got my pockets and I've got my pants. They are still right sides out. Right sides in. And I'm going to take the inseam section and I'm going to pin the part with the seam inside there. So I'm going to do that and then I'll explain a little bit more. So right sides or folded sides that are not raw are going to go on the inside. And then I've got my seam. Let's get a little closer. I've got my seam and I've got my inseam. I'm going to pin them together. And then using the pin I already placed for the middle of the other side of the cuffs, I'm going to pin that to the outer seam. Okay, you can use more pins or clips if you want to. I don't. That's enough for me. So then just repeat with the other side, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so got them put together. Sorry, I stacked some stuff to take a picture. So I have them put together on both sides, and the next step on the instructions is to go ahead and sew them in a circle. in a complete circle all the way around it. I'm going to go ahead while I have my phone on this stand. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I pin the top of the waistband together real quick, and then I'll do that part. So for the top of the waistband, I do have 2 extra clips right here with me. I'm going to fold it to where the outer seams connect. So, and then find the middle of the front, folded it until I found the middle, and then I'll find folded it, okay. Find the middle of the back. Okay, so now I have my middles. If I lay them right sides together, they should line up. That's just because that one's a little crooked. They should line up. So they line up. Now I'll just take my waistband. This is a fold down waist, and it is supposed to be up above the hips. So you'll notice that this is a little bit smaller. Let's pull this back a little bit so you can see. This is a lot smaller than the actual width of the waist. And that's because this part's going to go above their hips, and then this part is a baggy jogger with a drop crotch, so it's longer too. So this part is going to be bigger than this, and this is tall because it's going to be folded down like that. So I have a cloth diapered baby, and these fit her fantastic. This sits on her waist just fine, and then even with her cloth diaper on, these are still nice and loose and have plenty of room for activities and play. So I'm going to pin, this is the back, the bottom right here, and pin where my seam is on my waistband onto that. So then I'll only have 1 pin. Okay, and then tuck it in, grab my top, find where they meet, take one of the pins out, and then connect to the other one. You can do more pins all the way around. For example, you can go from these 2 and find where the middle would be off to the side of this, and pin, make sure that's the middle, and then pin it to your side seam. I usually just do these 2 and then just stretch as I go, but this is helpful. So you can add as many as you need. It's not a big deal if you have 60 clips on something. It's fine. Just move them before you sew. So found my middles. So now I know how much I need to stretch to get to each point. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these together and sew my leg cuffs on. And then I'll be right back to show you the final product. Okay. I meant to mention, it is an option. It is not something that you have to do. But if you wanted to have a little fake front waistband, front tie, you can use either just normal like drawstring. This one's a little thick, it's for hoodies, or you could use twill tape, or you could use some scrap. Here's some thinner one. You could use these ones, or you could use some scraps of the fabric and then just pull it really tight and it'll roll up around itself. I wish I had a piece to show you that real quick, but I don't think I do. I have the edge of this fabric. So see how it's rolling? You could cut off any excess that's not rolling and use the rolling part as the drawstring. So you could do that, and then you just tie the ends of it, clip it right here in the front, and then I would start with the front. If I was doing the faux tie in the front, I would have it where it's sticking out a little bit right here, and then, well, I mean, I guess I could just go ahead and do it. We'll go ahead and do it. Why not? I have black will match. I'm going to go ahead and cut it. It really just depends on your style for how long you want to cut it. This is just optional as a fun little add-on. So what I suggest is cutting it a little bit longer than you think, and then you can always cut it short. So I'm going to cut this real quick. I'll let you know how long I end up cutting it. I'm doing 2T right now, by the way, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I cut a piece. It's about 20 inches. If I want it to be shorter after it's all said and done, I can do that. So I'm just going to come in to where this is my front. Okay, I can tell because there's not a seam without having to move it anywhere. I can tell because there's not a seam right here on the waistband. So I'm just going to put this in place of my middle and pin it back on. And tuck these in. And I'll just straighten it up. So since I did do this part, I will need to start in the front so I can make sure that this doesn't move, because whenever you stretch, sometimes they need to go to a different spot. So maybe you accidentally pinned this wrong, or you didn't pin this part at all and you did all of your stretching and now you've got this big gap and this is going to be stretched. So you just want to start with the front so that it doesn't have to move. I'm just going to triple check that it is the front because it will be a pain to redo. Okay, that's the middle. It'll be a pain to redo if you don't double check and this is off center or it's a different section. So I'm using a serger. I'm not using a sewing machine. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this off. This is really thin jogger waistband. What is this? Oh my gosh, cord. It's thin cord. So I don't have any problem putting it through my serger. But if you're worried about it, or if you do not have a serger, you can do it with a sewing machine. Since I have a serger, I'm going to cut this part off because I don't want my knife to have to try to cut through that. It'll just end up trying to like stretch it all weird. So I'm going to cut that off before I sew. I'm going to grab some photos and then I'll get these sewn and be back. Okay, so got them sewn on. Before I turn them inside out, I like to go through, or right side out, I like to go through and make sure that I didn't miss any pieces, that no threads need to be snipped, and that all of my tails from serging are tucked in. So I've got this nit picker, that's what I use to tuck in my tails, and I've got my snippers. So like if I was doing this for a customer, I'd go over that again, but since it is just for my daughter, I'm totally fine because it is still hitting that yellow one. There's some stray threads. So just go over them, quickly give them a once over, make sure I didn't miss any more pieces. Here's a spot where I had put my tails through and they're sticking out. I just don't want anything that's gonna start making my daughter be like, I'm itchy, I don't want to wear this. So I go through pretty tediously and make sure that there's nothing that's gonna bug her. Because it doesn't hurt for me to go ahead and go through, but it could help, especially if I missed a seam somewhere. This would be a good time to find it. I do go through as I'm sewing, especially with a serger, because sometimes the pieces can slip through and you don't even notice. Every time I finish a piece, so like when I finished this leg, I went back and looked to make sure it all caught. That way you don't have to worry about it later after you get all these pieces sewn. But it doesn't hurt to double check. Okay, so I got it. I'm going to turn it inside out. Okay, so I got it right side out. I like to have my leg bands folded. I just prefer that look. And the waistband is meant to be folded, but you don't have to fold either of these if you don't want to, or if you think that you like the fit better without it folded, that's fine. It's not a big deal. So at this point I go through and make sure that there are no threads on this side that slipped through. I didn't see any whenever I went through, but so check your zipper, make sure everything's good there. Go into the inside and make sure there's no thread sticking through there. Flip them over. These lined up nicely. That one I missed a little bit, but that's okay. So they don't have to be perfect. You just want them to be in the same general area. So all done. This fabric is also available in my shop, but I got the fabric from Phase. Got it custom printed, and it's amazing. This is bamboo French terry, and it is the softest thing ever. So, all right, you can always reach out if you have any questions. I am here to help. All right, guys, see you next time. Bye.